All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Spike Kool-Aid, October 26th, 2022. Y'all got to excuse me, man. I haven't had my energy drink this morning. Yeesh. Okay, that's a Bang Black Cherry Vanilla. Not too bad. Sugar-free, as usual. Listen, we got a lot to talk about today. Shout out to my man, Mr. Poole. Shout out to the Dern. I see you, bro. You could have left that message, man. I'm not going to spaz out, bro. It's part of the business, man. But listen, we got a lot to talk about today. Dan Campbell press conference. He says that Jameson Williams is at least a month away. That is adding up to be Thanksgiving. He also said that Jared Goff, he still believes in him. So will the Detroit Lions draft a QB? We have to wait and see. I think that the answer is going to shock some of you guys. What I think is going to happen in my prediction. And the breaking news, shout out to my main man, Mr. Poole. He's always keeping me up to date through Twitter DMs, and I appreciate you, big homie. Dropped a message today. Sheila Hamp Ford came out of the cave and spoke to reporters today. And she gave us she dropped something that I think a lot of us felt was going to happen, but most of us thought it could change. We're going to get into that first because I want that to be first. Now, I got to put this out here. Because I want this whole thing read, and I don't feel like reading it, you guys are going to listen to it. So, Sheila Hamp Ford talked to reporters today, and this is one of the things that I hope one day I can get credentialed, me and my team that we can get credentialed part of the syndicate because we could have access to this information. But even if we never, ever, ever get credentialed, we're going to be as close to the action as possible, and we want to remain fans. That's one of the reasons I did the syndicate brand is to keep the fandom. Fandom first and foremost, right? So check this out. Sheila Hamp Ford addresses the media today, but it wasn't public. It was during the Lions practice. It was a 4-minute conversation, 4-minute dialogue. This is coming from Pride of Detroit. This is not my information, okay? Coming from Pride of Detroit. And this dropped about 25 minutes ago. Again, shout out to my man, Mr. Poole, for giving me this information before I found it. And what I'm going to do, because I don't feel like reading, we are going to play the transcript via Pride of Detroit and hear what Sheila Hamp Ford had to say. Now, you're going to have to forgive this because it is a robot voice. It's not the TikTok guy or the TikTok lady, but it sounds like the version of a TikTok guy. So here's what Sheila Hamp Ford had to say regarding Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. And this right here is going to tell you everything you need to know. It's a 4.5-minute listen, so let's get started.
Detroit Lions owner Sheila Hamp transcript. I'm frustrated, but I believe in our leadership, Pride of Detroit.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar.
Okay, they played me because I thought I had skipped past the ad. So how about that? How about that? So shout out to Capital One. You better sponsor your boy, man. All right, now it should play all the way through. Come on, man.
Detroit Lions owner Sheila Hamp sensed fans' frustrations over the team's 1-5 start and 4-18-1 start under coach Dan Campbell and general manager Brad Holmes. So on Wednesday afternoon during practice, Hamp held a short 4-minute media session to offer her thoughts on the team and answer a couple of questions from reporters. She expressed her frustration with how the team has been performing while also professing her full support for Campbell and Holmes. She reiterated several times that this was a complete teardown and rebuild that requires time and patience. All the while, she urged fans not to push the panic button and give up the ship. She believes there are signs of progress and the results are coming. Here is a full transcript of her media session. Note: questions are paraphrased. Opening statement. I just wanted to follow through with what I said initially, that I would be open and honest and available for you guys. So, here I am. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, but wanted to open with a couple comments. I know this is difficult. Our rebuild is hard, but we really believe in our process. We really believe we're going to turn this thing around the right way, through the draft. It requires patience. It's frustrating. Am I frustrated? Absolutely. Are the fans frustrated? Absolutely. Are you guys frustrated? But I think we really are making progress. We've seen it. It's just, this was a huge teardown and then turnaround. We're only a third of the way through the season. We've got 11 more games to go, so I just don't want everyone to push the panic button and give up the ship, because I think we've got the right people in place to pull this off. And I truly believe that, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it. What are the positives you've seen? The positives are the way we started the season with the offense. Obviously, I think we've got to get back to that. In any turnaround, there's going to be ups and downs. It's not going to be smooth. It's not going to be like this, gestures straight, ascending line. Boy, I wish it were. That'd be simple, but it's not. There's going to be fluctuations, and the other thing is, you all well know, our team is very young. That's not an excuse. That's a fact, and young players are going to make mistakes. So, we've had some key mistakes that have cost us games. Hopefully, we're not going to repeat those, hopefully, we learn. But it is a process and that's what it is. It's hard, and it's really hard to stay disciplined. No one hates losing more than I do, than my family does, but it's just we've just got to go through it. What feels different about this rebuild? This, I would say, was a teardown and then a rebuild. We really had to take it down to the ground level. And it's been not only on the football side but across the organization. We've put in a lot of new talent at the top. I really believe in the top leadership in this organization, and I think we've got the people to do it, to carry this out. I think that's what's different. Why are you talking with us? How long does patience last? Well, I agree with you. Patience lasts, as I said, we've got a long way to go in this season. I wanted to talk to you guys, because talking to you is talking to the fans. And I know everyone's frustrated, I'm frustrated. But, again, I really believe in what we've got and what we're going to be. It just takes time. Why do you believe in Dan Campbell when other rebuilds are happening quicker around the NFL? What I really have confidence in is the process we went through in the first place when we hired Brad, Holmes, and Dan. It was extremely thorough, and we really believe we've come up with the right people. I can't comment on other teams' rosters and what they had in the first place. All I know is what we had and where we're going. Is neither Brad Holmes nor Dan Campbell's jobs in danger this year, no matter what? I believe in the leadership.
Hey! First of all, shout out to you guys for dealing with that. I didn't feel like reading all that. This is telling, bro. So all of this stuff that you talking about, that we talking about, if Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes going to be fired, they not going anywhere. And shout out to everybody that said they weren't. Everybody said this. A complete teardown. So you know what she's inadvertently doing. She admitted that Matt Patricia was the wrong move. That's what this is. That's what this is. So no matter what, the last statement, the question, shout out to these guys at Proud of Detroit, man, is neither Brad Holmes nor Dan Campbell's job in danger this year, no matter what. Quote, I believe in the leadership, end quote. That means that these two guys are going to have as long as their contract says. And a lot of you been saying that for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Oh, it was a 6-year contract and a 5-year contract. That means nothing overall. But when it comes to our leadership and our owner, it means the world. Again, that information came from Pride of Detroit. It was the transcript. I didn't even know you could do that, but he basically read the article for us, right? Now I could have gone through it quicker and less robotic. Nick says at least 4 years. And see, I don't know, Nick. I think they got the whole regime, bro. The entire length of their contract. What did she say? She said something. This, I would say, was a teardown and then a rebuild. We really had to take it down to the ground level. And it's not only been the football side, but across the organization. So we're talking about ripping this thing down to the studs. We've been saying that. Lions Mania says they get half that. I disagree with you. I disagree with you 100%. And we're going to break this down, but I got to cut this video. I got to cut this segment short. I got to cut this segment short. All right, so let's look at the wording here. Let's look at the wording here. The last question they asked was, is neither Brad, you know what, I'm going to make this another video. All right, so the last question that they asked, what we're talking about now is Sheila Hamp Ford got in front of the media today, but it wasn't in a public sense. It was during practice. She caught up with some reporters, and she did that. We have to look at this. If you want to hear the full article, then go listen to the podcast, Spike Kool-Aid from today, October 26, 2022. Make sure I will leave the full article in the description for the Pride of Detroit. Okay, but let's look at the last question she said. Now, remember, guys, when you think about this, Dan Campbell is 4-18-1. 4-18-1. We are a third through season number 2, right? The last question. So Sheila Hamp Ford knows this. Sheila Hamp Ford knows this. And the last question was, is neither Brad Holmes nor Dan Campbell's job in danger no matter what this year? She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She said something I think is more telling than either of those answers. I believe in the leadership. Okay? So let's break that down. Why do I think that that's more telling than yes and no? Because if you believe in something, right? That means in order for you, what happens next? You believe in it until you don't, right? So she's not to the point where she does not believe in the leadership. Once that happens, then people are going to start getting chopped. She also said earlier, the question was asked, why did you believe in Dan Campbell why do you believe in Dan Campbell when other rebuilds are happening quicker around the NFL? She said, what I really have confidence in is the process we went through in the first place when we hired Brad Holmes and Dan. It was extremely thorough, and we really believe we've come up with the right people. I can't comment on other teams' rosters and what they had in the first place. All I know is what we had and where we're going. That is it. That tells you that everybody who said Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes wasn't going nowhere, I got to give you a round of applause because you were 100% right. 100% right. They ain't going nowhere. You better buckle down because they're going to be here. Dern says, I don't know, man. If we get one game this year and lower than 5 next year, then what do? You know what, Dern? I don't know. You got to ask Sheila Hamp Ford or Sheila Ford. She still believes in this season. She said, the question was asked, why are you talking with us? So this was impromptu. This wasn't planned. She popped up and said, yo, let me holler at you. Let me holler at y'all, because she said, you guys are in touch with the fans, and we know what the fans are saying. We feel you. They said, why are you talking with us? How long does patience last? Well, I agree with you. Patience lasts, as I said. We've got a long way to go this season. I wanted to talk to you guys because talking to you is talking to the fans, and I know everyone's frustrated. I'm frustrated, but again, I really believe in what we've got and what we're going to be. It just takes time. Do you understand the significance of those? I believe in where we're going. Dan Campbell is 4-18-1, and she believes. I used to play this game back in the 90s. It was called Parappa the Rapper. And the whole thing was about, his saying was, I gotta believe. I gotta believe. That's where we at right now. Sheila Hamp Ford at 4-18-1 still believes in these two gentlemen. which means that they ain't going nowhere. How much will she believe in this leadership if he's still making the same mistakes in year 4 as he did in year 1 and 2? Nick, that is a great question. But guess what, bro? It doesn't matter because we're in year 1.5. Could you imagine the damage? Listen, a complete rebuild, which means that this team was stripped down to the foundation. You know where they at now? The design phase is over. The pre-production, the pre-planning is over. Now they're replacing the studs. That's what they're doing now. The foundation has been laid when they were hired. Year 1 was letting that foundation settle in. Now they're building up. You ever seen a house when it's just the basement, right? And that's what Sheila is saying they're doing. She's not thinking about year 4 right now. She believes in this team. Mr. Poole, what's up, big dog? Appreciate you, man, because this is fire. I gave you a shout out at the beginning of the show. This information is fire, and I guarantee you every Detroit sports person from Mike Valenti to everyone else is going to be talking about this. Sheila Hamp Ford just reiterated the fact that they're not going anywhere. If you just joined us, the whole entire article was read in transcript form. You got to go back and listen to the podcast. Check it out. Shout out to Pride of Detroit. This is their information. Say, what are the positives you've seen? The positives are the way we started the season with offense. We got to get back to it, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be smooth. She said it's not going to be like up and down, a straight up and down, ascending line. I wish it were. That'd be simple. It's going to go through fluctuations and other things. Our team is very young. That's not an excuse. But listen, that's not an excuse, but that's a fact. That's not an excuse, but that's a fact. That's what she's saying. So she's saying it's not an excuse for what the outcome is, but it's a fact. We can't deny that this is the second youngest team in the National Football League, right? These two guys aren't going anywhere. Sheila Hamp Ford, impromptu, came out and talked to the media to kind of calm us down, to let us know we hear what you're saying. We hear what you're saying. I'm going to be 100. I appreciate that. I kind of wish Brad Holmes would do something similar, but I know why he's not. He takes away, his time is January through August. He's always talking, 100%. When the GM has to step back and let the coach, this is the coach's team. I'm telling you, we could spend the whole entire show breaking this 4-minute transcript down. But if you're just now joining us, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell has the re-blessing of Sheila Ford. And they're not going anywhere. Hyundai, what you just missed is we just talked about Sheila Hamp Ford coming out and saying that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, in essence, are not going anywhere. She believes in what they're doing. This is fantastic. Now, I will say this. The reason I said it was fantastic, because everybody, including myself, we're putting a timetable on this guy. Now, if I'm Brad Holmes, if I'm Dan Campbell, because let's be real, I'm going to be the first one to go. If I'm Dan Campbell, that's what I just did. Ooh, man. Whoo, Lord, jeez, I thought, man. Whoo, that's what I just did. I just did that because, man, I thought this season I was coaching for my job. So maybe now I can focus on this team. Because 4-18-1, she believes in her quote, I believe in the leadership. Now, what's she saying? No, Barbarian, there's not a voice of her speaking. Now, here's the thing. Here's where I'll give Sheila a little bit of an out, right? I believe in the leadership. Is she talking about at the top? Is she talking about Brad? Is she talking about Dan? Who's she talking about, right? So you can look at it. She said in the article that she believes that from the top, at the top, which in my opinion she wasn't talking about herself. She was talking about the people she's put there. Lions Mania says, can we agree that Dan needs to make better coaching decisions? Absolutely. Facts. I'm seeing that her interview was unprompted. None of the pressers expected it. At the very least, it's good transparency from her. Yes, Mr. Poole, that's what I was just saying right before you got in here. That she heard the cry, she came out, and that's why I said I appreciate that. I really do. No, there's not a video of her speaking. It was literally the Lions are practicing because they got a home game, and she showed up. Imagine her walking out of Allen Park and everybody just mob her over there. Hey, why are you here? What are you doing here? Because this is not something we see on a regular basis. We don't see Sheila Hamp Ford at Allen Park all the time. Dan cost us a game or two, so he can still turn it around. He needs to improve, though. That's facts. Nick says, no question that Campbell is a good leader, but can he coach? You know what, y'all? This changes everything. This changes everything. And I need to know, how do you feel about it? And see, this is when we would open up the phone lines. Man, I'm getting so excited. I'm getting so excited right now because I'm telling you, this thing is building. I'm looking to, before the season is out, get a table so I can start building my studio, whether it's in the basement or we somewhere. We live, right? This is exciting to me because this changes everything. We can stop talking about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes getting fired. We can stop talking about how long they have. Because it appears they have as long as they need. Because Sheila Hamp Ford and her team did a thorough search, a thorough process of hiring these two guys. Which means at 4-18-1, they have not lost faith. What's up, Jeff? Haven't seen you before. Says Jason Garrett got 9 years of making mistakes without much higher profile organization. With a much higher profile organization, we can live with Dan learning on the job. Okay, Jeff, I hear you, bro. I hear you. I disagree with that, though. I disagree with that. Let me tell you why. We are in a section of our own, okay? The only team that can compare to us is the Cleveland Browns. But I don't think any other fan base on the planet has the right to talk about us. I know you're a fan. I'm just saying. We deserve so much better. We can't live with anything. Some of us have lived and died. And I'm not trying to be over dramatic. I'm speaking facts like Sheila Hamp. We cannot wait for anything. That's why she popped out for patience. Because the word that kept coming up was patience, and more patience. That shows that she cares about the team and the fans, unlike her mom and dad. I was going to say that, Dave. I agree. As of right now, I'm fine with it. But if wins don't start to come, I will start to become agitated and question her decision. Winning cures all of this. That's facts, Nern. I think Ben Johnson is groomed to be head coach. Nick, where? Here or just period? Now, the reason that I said that this was huge is because after we heard all that, now it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Dan Campbell said today in the press conference, Jameson Williams is still at least a month away from rejoining the Detroit Lions. Which means, and some of y'all have been saying this, so shout out to y'all. Some of y'all got the patience of a saint, and y'all have been, this regime has pumped you up like the two dudes, Hans and Franz, off Saturday Night Live. And what I mean by that is Dan Campbell from day one had most of y'all hooked. Hooked that no matter what happened, no matter what these guys did, it was okay. Jameson Williams, according to Dan Campbell this morning, said it's hard to say when he's going to be back. I would say at least probably another month, but we do feel like we're going to get him before this is said and done. Now I hear a lot of people saying, well, why rush him? A lot of you, not necessarily in the chat, were okay with drafting Jameson Williams. Even though he was hurt. A lot of you were okay because your thought was, man, he's going to be a big piece to the rebuild. Remember now, Sheila Hamp Ford said this rebuild was from the studs. So Jamison Williams, another stud. Foundation was laid last year. Now Jamison Williams, stud. Aiden Hutchinson, stud. Jeff Okuda, we're going to talk about him a little later. Stud, right? We talk about anchors on offense and defense. We also going to talk about Jared Goff one more time because we always going to talk about Jared Goff. But Jamison, now everything is okay. Everything is okay. Sheila Hamp Ford made everything okay. She came out today and with the statement, I believe in the leadership, when asked if Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes were in any fear of getting fired this year, that was what she said. That means that she was okay with every move that they made. That means that she was okay with trading up to get Jamison Williams. She was okay if he did not play this year. But I'm sure they assured her he gonna see the field. Now it makes a lot of sense what they're doing. Maybe they are stringing us along because everybody, he is the lone, him and Aiden Hutchinson, man, lone bright spots, the youth movement in this dismal season. Lions Mania says, I'm hoping Jamison Williams pans out as a player. I still hope Buffalo game return. Yes, that's, if you think about it, that's a month away. Now, here is when we going to know for sure. When Jamison Williams gets cleared to practice and he returns to practice, there is a 21-day window for him to play. So once we get the word that he's been cleared, now you can pin it on your calendar 2 to 3 weeks out. So if he gets cleared, I would say, okay, this week is what, 30, right? The 30th. If he gets cleared he has to be cleared by next week, a week and a half. After week 9, Jamison Williams needs to be cleared to play Thanksgiving. If not, you could see him the last 4 games of the season, last 4 to 5. Because, see, that's where I'm starting to get. Because remember, he has to be cleared to practice. Lions Mania says they only gave up picks 32 and 34 and 66. They received 12 and 45. Trust me, Lions Mania, it's been in my head from making all these videos. They gave up, they got 46. If Brad and Dan aren't going anywhere, neither is Goff. David, that is a great question. We're going to talk about that a little later. I don't want Jamison Williams to make his debut on Thanksgiving. We're going to get fried a week before that or after that at the best. And see, Lions Mania, I disagree. If the dude is capable of playing, he's okay, right? Because I know what's going to happen. He gets hurt the day he come back or he get hurt between. Here's how this is going to go. If he gets hurt between his return and the end of the season, it's going to be on a leadership. If he gets hurt anytime next year, it's going to be on him. It's going to be with him. J-Mo is already running routes. I think they're just waiting to clear him. Nick, I think that's what they're waiting on too. And like I said, once we get the word that he's been cleared to return, book it. 2 to 3 weeks, he'll be back. And he said about a month away. And Dan Campbell again said, I would say at least probably a month, which means that you have to add 2 to 3 weeks for practice. In my humble fan opinion, Jamison Williams expected him to be cleared in the first or second week of November. And that's when we should expect to see him in Thanksgiving. I would say Thanksgiving is J-Mo's debut, matches Dan's month away comment. Yep, and it's pretty much a primetime game and could generate a bunch of hype around the game for Detroit to fight in. Not to mention the fact that we have several games before that. We have the Miami Dolphins, the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, and then one other team, I think, maybe the Giants or something like that, and then it's Buffalo. Somewhere around there. I think they're our fifth or sixth game. It will give J-Mo 7 games to adjust and get settled in the offense as well as before the offseason changes come around. That's facts. But one of them changes, Mr. Poole, will not be Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. So let me know, what do you think about Jamison Williams being at least a month away, according to Dan Campbell, lines up perfectly with the Thanksgiving Day game. Now, I wanted to just say something real quick. I wanted to give some props to Jeff Okudah. So a lot of, Twitter is like the weirdest place. Twitter is, I don't even know why Twitter exists. I really don't know. To me, it's like a virtual kind of where everybody has to battle it out. Nobody's ever wrong. Everybody has something to say, and you're wrong if you don't say the same thing I'm saying. I saw something on there about Jeff Okudah saying, where were the Jeff Okudah haters? And it's going to be hard to label somebody a Jeff Okudah hater, but I will say this. Jeff Okudah has been playing well. If you're drafted 3rd overall, everybody was saying y'all gave Aiden Hutchinson essentially one game. Y'all was ready to literally string this young man up because he went MIA for 3 games. And we have given Jeff Okudah 3 seasons, okay? But this is not a Jeff Okudah roast. This is a compliment of Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah is the only NFL cornerback since 1994 to produce a game with 15 total tackles and a tackle for a loss. Jeff Okudah had 15 total tackles. He had 12 solo and 1 tackle for a loss. Was flying everywhere. And I'm excited for this guy. I never wanted to see him fail at all because Jeff Okudah helps my team. He helps my team win. And if he's playing like he's playing now, that's fantastic. Now, if you're drafted 3rd overall, you're going to have some heat. You're going to carry some weight. That's why you're drafted so high. It's going to carry weight. So you can't complain if you're getting the smoke and you were drafted 3rd overall. Hey, Mr. Poole, facts. I'm proud of him too because he last year was looking mighty bleak. But you know what? I don't know Jeff Okudah. Never met him. But I do know what I've heard throughout, the media reading articles that I'm not saying that he needed this to happen. But similar to Aaron Rodgers, Lord have mercy, how he's saying maybe losing was good for us. Who else wanted to smack him when he said, just shut up. Shut up. It's always something. You just had to utter something. But anyway, this ain't about him. Jeff Okudah. Heard that he was maybe a little arrogant coming out of college when it came to his skill, his play set. Maybe it wasn't confidence. It was arrogance, right? And all I heard is how hard he was working, how devastated he was after the injury, and how hard he was working, even leading up to last year's debut. That he was working really hard. Everybody was like, man, he's making giant strides. He's this, he's that. Comes out, blows the Achilles up. Done. Then we see the preseason, the training camp, doing his thing, looking good out there. Then he comes out. And for the most part, he's played well. It was one game. It was a little tough. But you guarding DK Metcalf. He going to make anybody look silly. I don't care who you are. He going to make you look silly. Calvin Johnson made everybody look silly. Even though it was some people that could hang with him, you couldn't at the end of the day. Right? Same thing with DK Metcalf. Jeff Okudah has been playing fantastic, and I am happy for him. Uncle Mike says, for some reason, most Lions fans only give players a few games, rookies or new vets, which is an issue. That's facts. That's facts, Mike. But that goes back with what I said in the previous segment. When it comes to our fan base, we have the patience of a gnat. And I think in some regard, it's warranted. Because when a player comes out and they're drafted high, they're supposed to make an immediate impact, right? And we wanted immediately. Aiden Hutchinson was supposed to make a sack, and the game ain't even playing. It's in the preseason. He's supposed to have 5 sacks, right? Aiden Hutchinson has 4.5, 11 games to play. If he gets 3 more, he ties Chase Young. If he gets 5 more, he will pass Nick Bosa because Nick only had 9, right? He's trending. I think, honestly, his only competition is Sauce Gardner. And if he can get 9.5, 10 sacks, he might win it. But Jeffrey Okudah is playing lights out. Will he ever live up to number 3? I don't know. He's in year 3. He was drafted 3rd overall. He got a lot of ground to make up. But I tell you what, it would be a fantastic story to see him go through what he went through. The man only played 10 out of 33 games coming into this season. And if I'm not mistaken, he's been out there every single game. And he's been playing lights out. And that's fantastic to see. Because will he live up to the number 3rd overall pick? I don't know. But he sure is helping our team right now. Man, what a day. What a crazy day. Sheila Hamp Ford comes out and tells us basically to calm down. That's crazy. So this, you know what this means, y'all? This means that she hears us. Is she listening is a different question. But she hears us. And I think that's a testament to us. I really do. I really do, man. We are making a lot of ruckus. Dave Burkett had an article the other day about coming out when he leaving Dallas and people on the plane. Crackman was there. The Super Lions fan, he was there. Now, you know Crackman ain't going nowhere, just like Lions Mane. Lions Mane ain't going nowhere. The brother dresses like a lion every single Sunday. All the Lions commercials. Him, Michael Banks, Crackman. Stefanski, they everywhere. I think every fan base has fans like that. No matter what, they going to be there. It's part of their DNA. It's inside of them, right? And then you got other fans. They call them super fans. Now, most of us are not super fans. We may have a breaking point. We may not. But we all, at the end of the day, we want the same thing. Some of us might just pay more money. Because I'm going to tell you what, I'm glad I didn't go to Dallas. I'm glad I saved my money. Because I was looking at that Lions package. I think it was $15.99, and I would have been mad. I would have been mad. But we have the right to be impatient. There is nobody, and I think that's why Sheila Hamp came out today, because she knows that there's nothing that literally she's the only one that can say something. And look, let me say this. And I'm going to say something that might be controversial to y'all. I applaud this. I applaud Sheila Hamp Ford coming out, which tells you she hears us. Sheila has put all the fans who are losing their minds and in panic mode, mainly every one of us, in time out. Hey, that's facts. That's facts. But I appreciate that she did that. I really do. Because it tells me that she cares, which is something we can't say about the Ford organization. Let's say this right now. We're not selling. Okay? This team is not, as long as she's alive, they're not going anywhere. Now, after she passes, I'm not sure, because I heard different things through articles and stuff like that the kids may or may not be that excited to take over the team. Okay? But again, this is what I've heard through what I've read, right? But I appreciate that she did that. It shows me that she cares. It tells me that she cares. The Ford organization they're not going to sell the team. And if they do, is that something you really, really want? Because don't forget now, they could pack this team and move them. We could become the Cleveland Browns 2.0. Lions Mania says, as a fan, I'm just disappointed by some of his coaching decisions thus far. So do better, Dan, coach better. That's facts. That's facts. It's a lot of things they need to do better. And I do believe that there will come a time, like Nick said, maybe year 4. I think Nick or Dern said it. Year 4. Year 4 is going to be a big year. Will she be telling us to have patience in year 4? She's not. But a lot of us were wondering, hey, because when you start getting compared to Marty Morningweg and Matt Patricia, and again, Sheila Hamp Ford, in my opinion, if you read between the lines, She said something without saying it. She said by saying that this was a tear down and we had to tear the team down. She's basically admitting that firing Jim Caldwell, or at the very least, hiring Matt Patricia was a mistake. She's admitting her mistake without saying, hey, we made a mistake. In my opinion, that's the only thing she could have did today that would have just blew me away. And you know what? Hiring Matt Patricia was the wrong move. Right? She's probably having somebody coach her and tell her something. But this woman, I told you, if you see the hands to the head, somebody's getting fired. But we don't got to worry about that now. And I tell you what, this is going to be big for the rest of the season, I promise you. Now, all the talk about these two guys getting fired is over. Nick says, year 4, we got a lot of cap space. That's what I keep hearing. 2024, $100 million. And the way Brad Holmes spends money, he might be able to get a whole NFL football team for that. Year 4 is a bigger year for Brad Holmes, less Dan Campbell. Maybe. But this is huge. This is huge. It's very telling. It's extremely telling that this regime going to be a while. Quite a while. Brad Holmes better make a splash in 2024, right? We still got to get through 2023, y'all. You think Sheila will pay Calvin then and smooth that situation over with one of our Hall of Famers? That will also send a great message that she cares. Well, you know what, same old? According to her, she's working toward that. But from what they've said is that you can't just pay Calvin Johnson. You have to pay him a certain way. And they want it now. In Sheila Hamp's defense, she did offer to pay Calvin Johnson. They were going to pay him in 3 payments of $300 and something thousand. But he declined. He wants all of it at one time. And that is where I think a lot of the problem is coming in at. And he also, if I'm not mistaken, paying Calvin Johnson will count some way against the salary cap. Something like that. I don't know. I don't remember what I read. But it's not as simple as you giving me money and we're saying that we're square. I think right now, okay, right now, that's the only thing that she can do is pay Calvin Johnson. I think Sheila Hamp Ford, and I know that you might be like, well, Grid, you've been a Lions fan for a long time. But I'm seeing something in her that I haven't seen before. I'm seeing something. I'm seeing her take some kind of responsibility. I'm seeing her impromptu calm us down. Okay, so Lions Mania, Calvin Johnson, when he retired, they made him pay back. I want to say it was a signing bonus. It was something that he hadn't yet earned by retiring. It was a big discussion about this in 2019. But when he retired, they forced him to give it back. And I think that the reason Calvin wants it all back is the way they took it from him. It wasn't just that they took it from him. It was the way that they took it from him. They asked for it back, and he gave it back. So now he said, okay. And he probably didn't pay them in increments. So he like, you know what? No. So we'll see. I think at this point, the only thing Sheila Hamp Ford can do, honestly, is give back Calvin his money. The Dern says, not going to lie. As a Lions fan, I hate being told to be patient. I'm with you, Dern, 100%. And I just said that there is no merit for any one of us to show patience. And I think that's a legit statement. No playoff wins since 1991. No division titles. Yep. No NFC North titles. Literally bottom 5 in history. What else am I going to do? Dern, guess what? That's only a question you can answer, my friend. I think we all have been there. We all have to ask it. We all have to get that. Only you can prevent forest fires. The power is yours, says Captain Planet, right? That's only a question you can answer, bro. So the Giants changed their coach after several losing years, and it's immediately different. Okay, see, Poole, you're late to the party. Sheila Hamp Ford was asked that very same question. And here's what she had to say. Why do you believe in Dan Campbell when other rebuilds are happening quicker around the NFL? Quote, I really have confidence in the process we went through in the first place when we hired Brad Holmes and Dan. It was extremely thorough. I really believe we've come up with the right people. I can't comment on other teams' rosters and what they had in the first place. All I know is what we had and where we're going, which is why I said, she essentially said, hey, hiring Jim Caldwell hiring Matt Patricia was a mistake. That's what I heard in there. All I know is what we had and where we're going. Mr. Poole says, if it turns out that she's just as bad as her parents, then I would yell for a new ownership. But I would want to be sure that Michigan keeps their NFL team. New ownership always has a change of relocation, Mr. Poole. And listen, lesser of two evils. Which one would you prefer? Question for the chat. Would you prefer the Fords remain owners for the rest of your life, right? It's passed down from generation to generation, or a new owner they're sold to a new owner. He takes them away. Because remember, the Lions didn't start in Detroit now. They didn't start in Detroit. They didn't get here to 1934. So there was a time that they weren't here. London Lions. We could be the Baltimore Ravens 2.0. Could you imagine? The Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions. Now, me personally, here's what I believe. I believe, yes, the Portsmouth Spartans. I believe that the Detroit Lions will never leave this city. They are part of one of the original 10 teams, and I don't think they're going anywhere. David says that's not an easy question to answer. No, it's not, David, but which would you prefer? Here's the answer that I would give you. I would choose to have that patience and wait this thing out before I see them leave. Because when they do, it will be like something we've never felt. You know, could you imagine how the Cleveland Browns felt when the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl? Could you imagine that? I don't even know if Cleveland had a team at the time. Or they might have had that when they had Tim Couch or something like that. They were real early on because they were only gone for a couple of years. But there was a time. Let me ask you guys right now in the chat. Honest, right? And this is why we have a great call-in show. How would you feel if the Detroit Lions did not exist for 5 years? Tell me. We're always screaming about rooting for this team. We're always screaming about we're going to stop. Matt Derry from Locked On Lions said yesterday in his show from yesterday that he now he's a little more precise on whether or not he's gonna quit. He said he's already talked to the higher ups, and if they don't win 1 or 2 games, he's gonna leave. He's gonna pass the torch. If they don't win 1 game between the Packers or the Dolphins. So, how would you feel? Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for this team. But that's what being a fan is. That's part of being a fan. Is going through this. So when we get that, because could you imagine how let's say somebody take this team, this roster, they take this team, new GM, new head coach, new ownership, they knock the draft out the park. And in 2 years, the former Detroit Lions are winning the Super Bowl. Nick says, I would feel mad, sad, but also a little relieved. Isn't that how we feel almost every season, like the Lions don't exist? Then we wouldn't have anything to complain about. Well, that's what I'm asking you. Same old. Which would you prefer? Would you be a little relieved like Nick. Just imagine the Detroit Lions are sold and packed up, and we take them to, I don't know, Indiana. I don't know, because I'm not even sure Indiana has a football team, do they? I don't know all the cities. Hyundai says I would switch teams. No. Nope. Not an option. The Detroit Lions are no longer the Detroit Lions. Would you follow them? Would you still complain like you're complaining now? I would probably become a Bengals fan if there was no Detroit, no team in the city. Oh, that's right. The Indianapolis Colts. That's right. But there you go. So, listen, I'm not making excuses for this team. I'm not making excuses and saying that they don't need to win, because they do. They absolutely need to win games. Point blank, period. But what I'm saying is that there's been a lot of bad, and football takes so long to come around. Like I said in yesterday's show, my channel does better in the offseason. Okay? And I'm going to say something to y'all that I'm going to make a video about probably tomorrow. It might be an additional video. Nobody's going to watch it, so I'm going to share it with y'all. For the 16 people in this chat, because I appreciate y'all. Tomorrow, is the 1-year anniversary of Detroit Lions Syndicate. Therefore, the Syndicate brand. And in that time, and I can thank the Detroit Lions for making this happen. In that time, my team and I have built the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. That is pushing 2,000 subscribers. We have the Denver Broncos Syndicate. That is pushing 1,000. We have the Minnesota Vikings Syndicate that should hit 500 any day now. And we have a Kansas City Chiefs Syndicate launching November 7th. And then we got this channel here. The reason that I started doing this came from the Detroit Lions in 2017. And in 5 years, look how far I've come. 30,000 on one channel, 6,000 on the other channel, and this one is growing, and it's fantastic, right? And we got more to come. I just need creators that's willing to work. Pistons content coming, Red Wings content coming. Y'all need an option to Woodward Sports, because Adam is a hot mess. I don't know the man, but he a hot mess. 100%. And they're doing what I've always wanted to do. So I said, you know what? Enough talk. Like Badlands Chugs, enough talk. Time to get to work, right? So I said that to say that the Detroit Lions are the reason for that. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to sit here and take it. I'm saying that they are the reason that I'm here in the first place. The good with the bad. My first video was a hoodie over my head. Mike, you can contact me on Twitter, bro. You can contact me I'll help anybody. But you know, if you really want to do it, you can contact me on Twitter. Let me tell you what my Twitter handle is. It is at Lion Syndicate. You can DM me. I think my DMs are open. If you're really serious, bro, and you want to, I will help anybody get started. That's how I started, man. I would say about 50% of the Detroit creators have been spawned from me. And that's not a brag. Sheila said, that's not an excuse, that's a fact. So is this, right? Hey, Nick, you was there. You remember yeah. Listen, and I know this is off subject, but I think it's important. My very first, I used to make videos in my bathroom because it had the best lighting in the house. My Metro PCS cell phone was in the medicine cabinet, front camera. And I used to record because it was the perfect height, the perfect, lighting. And my very first Lions video was a cell phone video in my bathroom because it had the best lighting in the house. And I made a video, and it's called, you can look it up. It's called The Pain of Being a Detroit Lions Fan. 2017, when the Detroit Lions were eliminated from barely playoff contention by the then horrendous Cincinnati Bengals, still coached by Marvin Lewis. Dern says, honestly, to me, I'd rather have them move. They make my decision to walk away for me. Dern, I got to give you this, bro. You know I love you, man, but I got to give you this. No. Nope. No. You know what, Dern? Nope. No. Honestly, I'd rather have them move. They make my decision to walk away for me. Nope. You see that, Dern? You can't do it, bro. You can't do it. It's like telling you go. Nope. You hang up. No, you hang up. You got to hang up first. I hang up after you hang up. Nope. No, Dern. You here and you ain't going nowhere. Right? But we'll wrap up the show, man, and I'll just say this. Hey, Nick, facts. They would move and they would. Okay, here's the deal. If the Detroit Lions left and became look. Let's make one last segment. I think this is juicy. All right. Last segment of the show. If the Detroit Lions moved and were renamed to something else, are you still a Detroit Lions fan if you root for them? Detroit now has no team. The Detroit Lions become, I don't know, the Oceanic 815. Shout out to Loss. The Detroit Lions become the Oceanic 815, and they play in Idaho. Are you still a Detroit Lions fan if you root for the Idaho Oceanic 815? Now, there's a question for you. Detroit sports across the board has been letting us down recently. Pistons for the last, 15 years? 15, 16? Going somewhere around there. The Idaho potatoes. Come on, y'all. Answer the question. Are you still a Detroit Lions fan if you root for the Idaho potatoes if the Detroit Lions move to Idaho? I think that's a really genuine question. I really do. Because to me, it's tough, right? I don't know why we felt, okay, Kenneth comes in and says no, period. N-O. And Ken, I was about to team up with you, bro. That was about to be me. The thing, I'm going to tell you this, and we'll leave the show on this. When the Detroit Lions win, and yes, I do believe that we'll win. When the Detroit Lions win, I can guarantee you the feeling that you will have will be unlike any feeling you've ever had. It's going to be I'm not saying it's going to be better than these. I'm saying it's going to be unlike any of these. It's not going to be like the birth of your first child. It's not going to be the like getting married. It's going to be like something you have never experienced in your life. And I think we aren't ready for it. But when it happens, because you went through all of this perseverance, had all of this patience, okay, Kansas City went 50 years. We have gone the entire Super Bowl era without even showing up in the big dance. And when it does happen, baby steps first, it will be like nothing you've ever experienced. Nick says 100 times the feeling from 2011 when we made the playoffs. Man, that was something, wasn't it? That was something. I remember knowing we were going to get slaughtered. And I think about this to this day. Lions go to Lambeau, I think it was, right? The Matt Flynn, Matthew Stafford showdown. We win that game. We host our first game in Ford Field. First playoff game that we host since Barry Sanders and them whipped on Dallas, right? Herman Moore. Shout out to Herman Moore. I think about that all the time, right? But who do we host if the Lions win a division? Does anybody in the chat remember Who do we host if the Lions win the division that year? Wouldn't that be awkward if the Lions move? Then we had... Hey, but Durr, you know it's 2024, bro. 2024. Nope. Lions Mania. Does anybody remember if we win the division, who would we have hosted at home? Nope. That's who we lost to. Palpatine. Nope. Is that it? If the Detroit Lions would have won and beat the Packers, we would have hosted the then or the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants. So it's kind of weird, right? How everything happens. Lions lose that game, they go face the Saints. They win that game, the Giants come to them. The Giants went on to win the Super Bowl. But we got absolutely whipped by the Saints in the Metro, what is it, the Silverdome, Superdome, whatever it is. Got Mercedes-Benz, whatever it was at the time, we got smoked, and we all knew it was coming. But that 2014 one still hurts. You know what nobody ever talks about? The 2016 campaign. That playoff, nobody talks about that at all. Nobody talks about that because it was like, we was barely there. We limped into the playoffs that year. I think we lost 3 straight games, and we limp into the playoffs. We got to go to Seattle, 12th man, and we got cheated, but we were never there. We never got off the plane. It was never stood a chance. At least with the Saints, we was going back and forth. They won by 17, and we all know how the Packers, right? Same old Lions says Saints didn't punt once and converted almost every 4th down in that game. Yeah, buddy. So I'll say this. First of all, I appreciate y'all, man. Real talk. The channel is growing, and everything is happening better than I could have ever expected or imagined, and I appreciate y'all. We back on tomorrow. What a bombshell that dropped today, though. Sheila Hemp Ford decides that, or lets us know, she hears us, and that she believes in the leadership of this organization. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But with that being said, you guys have a great day. The target time is 2:00, but when you got homeschooling, man, you don't know what to expect. So I will see you guys again tomorrow. And let me know. Here's the last question I'll leave. Put this in the comment section below. Does Sheila Hemp Ford coming out saying that she believes in the leadership of this organization, including Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, have you relaxed now? Have you relaxed knowing that they're going to be here a while? Or are you even more agitated? I will see you tomorrow.